There is a barn cat out in my stable right now, a gray thing my youngest grandchild named Smoke, and last summer she was in a bad way, scratching at her neck till the fur came off in patches, shaking her head, worrying at the root of her tail till the skin went red and raw. A cat in that state is a miserable animal, and it is a hard thing to watch because she cannot tell you what is wrong and she cannot help herself. My youngest came to me near in tears about it, and I want to tell you, the thing that ailed that cat was so small you could barely see it, and the fix for it cost me 1 drop of soap and a little patience of an evening. I have kept a cat or two working this Ozark Hill farm for 50 years, earning their keep running down the mice in the barn and the root cellar, so I have known the flea, and I have known how to fight it long before anybody sold a little tube of poison at the store. And that is what I want to give you today, the plain old way, because it is cheaper than what they sell you, it is safer for the animal, and once you understand it, it works. If you are new here, welcome to Homestead Grandpa. Hit that subscribe button right now so you do not miss a single video. I put one out every week and I do not waste your time. Now let us get into it. Here is the first thing you have to understand, and it is the thing that changes everything because nearly everybody gets it backward. When your cat is scratching, you think the problem is the fleas on the cat. It is not, or it is, but only a small part of it. The fleas you can see crawling on the animal are the smallest piece of the trouble. The big part of the trouble is all around you, in the house, in the barn, down in the bedding, and you cannot see a bit of it. A flea does not live its whole life on the cat. The cat is where it feeds, but it is not where it breeds and grows. A single flea on your animal lays its eggs right there in the fur, and those eggs are smooth, they do not stick. They roll right off the cat like grains of salt wherever the cat goes. Onto the barn floor, down in the straw, into the cracks of the boards, into the rug by the door where the cat likes to sleep. And down in all those hidden places, those eggs hatch into creatures too small to see, and those grow and hide and wait down deep where the light does not reach, until they are full grown and ready to jump up onto a warm animal and start the whole misery over again. For every 1 flea you see biting your cat, there are a great many more you cannot see, waiting in the floor and the bedding all around. What is on the animal is only a small fraction of the whole. The great bulk of them are in the nest, not on the cat. And that is why folks fight fleas for months and never win. They keep treating the cat, and only the cat, over and over, and they never touch the 99 hiding in the floorboards. It is like bailing water out of a boat and never looking for the hole. You have to fight the nest, not just the animal. Remember that. It is the whole secret, and the rest is just method. My grandfather taught me this, and he did not teach it with words so much as with a lesson I have never forgotten. I was a boy, and we had a barn cat gone raw with fleas, and I was set on the notion that if I just bathed that cat enough, scrubbed her good and clean, the trouble would be done. And he let me do it. He let me wash that cat till she hated me for it, and she came up clean as a whistle, not a flea on her. And I was proud, and he said, "Now watch," and he set her down in her usual spot in the straw. And we came back the next morning, and she was crawling with them again, every bit as bad as before. He crouched down beside me, and he said, "You did not lose the battle on the cat, boy. You lost it in the straw. You cleaned the soldier and left the whole army sitting in the barracks. The enemy was never mostly on her. It was all around her, waiting. That lesson has stayed with me 60 years, and it is true of a great many troubles besides fleas, come to think of it. You will wear yourself out forever fighting the part you can see and never touch the part that matters. Go after the nest. Before the method, I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, do you keep a barn cat, a house cat, or both? And what has and has not worked for you on fleas? I read every single one, and if you have not subscribed yet, hit that button now. New video every week. All right, we start with the animal, because that is where the itching is. And I am going to show you the cheapest, gentlest tool there is, one you may already own, a fine metal comb. A flea comb, they call it, with the teeth set very close together. Close enough to catch the flea but let the fur through. You can buy one for $1 or $2, and it is the safest thing in the world to use, safe on a nursing mother cat, safe on tiny kittens too small for any other treatment, because it is nothing but a comb, no poison at all. But here is the trouble with a comb by itself. You comb the cat, you catch a live flea in the teeth, and before you can do a thing about it, that flea has jumped clean off the comb and back into the room, and it will find its way right back onto the cat. A flea is a champion jumper. You cannot pinch them, they are too small and hard, and you cannot drown them easily either, and here is why. A flea has a hard shell with a waxy coat on it, like the wax on an apple, and that wax sheds water. So if you comb a flea into a plain cup of water, it does not sink and drown. It sits right up on top, held up on the skin of the water the way a water bug skates on a pond. It will float there and row itself to the edge and climb out and go right back to biting. Plain water will not hold it, and here is where the one drop comes in, and it is so simple you will laugh. You take a cup of warm water and you put in a single drop of plain dish soap, just one drop, stirred in. The soap breaks the surface tension of the water, that tight skin that held the flea up on top. The soap undoes it so there is nothing to stand on, and the soap cuts through that waxy coat on the flea besides, so when you comb a flea off the cat and dip the comb in that cup, the flea does not float, it sinks straight down and does not come back up. One drop of soap turns a cup of water into a trap the flea cannot escape. Here is how you do it. Sit down in a good bright spot, evening is fine, with the cat in your lap and the cup of soapy water right beside you. Comb slow and gentle, starting at the neck and going down the back to the root of the tail, because the root of the tail is where the fleas gather thickest. Every stroke or two, dip the comb in the cup and swish it, and you will see them come off into the water and go down. Keep at it a little every day, and each day there are fewer, until one evening you comb the whole cat and the water stays clear. That cat is a different animal by then. The scratching stops, the fur grows back, and it cost you a comb and a drop of soap. Now, here is a little test worth knowing for the times you are not even sure fleas are the trouble. When you comb near the root of the tail, you may see little hard black specks come out like ground pepper. Is that just plain dirt, or is it the sign of fleas? Take a plain white cloth or a bit of white paper, dampen it, and press a pinch of those black specks onto the wet white. Wait a moment. If it stays black, it is only dirt. But if it spreads out into a rusty reddish-brown stain like a little ring of rust, then you have your answer. That black speck is not dirt. It is what the flea leaves behind, and it is made of the blood it drank from your cat, dried. Wet it, and the blood shows red again. A plain, sure test that cost you nothing but a scrap of white and a drop of water. The combing gets the fleas that are on the cat right now, tonight. It does nothing about the great host of them waiting in the floor. Comb the cat clean tonight, set her down on an infested rug, and by morning she has a fresh batch on her. That is why the comb alone never finishes the job. And it is why we now turn to the nest, which is the real battle. Two things, cleaning the floors and washing the bedding. The first is cleaning. All those hidden eggs and young ones are down in the cracks along the edges of the room where the boards meet the wall, under the furniture, deep in the seams of the cushions the cat sleeps on, in the low, dark places. So that is where you must clean. Not the middle of the floor where it is easy, but the edges and corners and dark seams where they hide from the light. Go after those places hard. And the moment you are done, take what you swept up or gathered outside entirely, to the burn barrel or the trash away from the door, so they cannot crawl back in. And here is the part most folks cannot stand to hear. You must do it every day, not once. Every day for 2 or 3 weeks, because they hatch in waves and you have to catch each wave as it comes up. Miss too many days and you are back where you started. It is a chore, plain hard work, but it is the thing that actually wins. The second is the wash. Heat. A flea egg, a young flea, they cannot live through good hot water, so you gather up everything the cat sleeps on, the blanket in her basket, the old towel she lies on, the rug by the door, and if that cat sleeps on your own bed at night, your own sheets too, all of it. Wash it in the hottest water your machine will give, and dry it hot as well. The heat kills the eggs and the young all at once, right in the cloth your animal sleeps against. Do that at the start and again a week on, and it clears out one of the worst nests there is. My grandmother knew the power of heat against small vermin long before there was a hot water washer. In her day, when there was a trouble of any small pest in the cloth, the bedding and linens went into a great kettle of boiling water over the fire, and were stirred and boiled and wrung and hung in the hot sun to dry. She did not know the fine reasons a learned man might give, but she knew from her own mother that boiling and sun cleaned a cloth of things a plain cold wash left living, and she was right. Whatever washing you have, hot as it will go, hot to dry, and you are using the same wisdom she used over her kettle, only with less of the labor. Use it. Do those two things, the daily cleaning of the floors and the hot washing of the bedding, together with the soapy comb on the cat, and you will clear a flea trouble out of your home inside a month, without a drop of poison. Now I have to stop and give you a warning, and I want you to hear it plain, because it is the most important thing I will say today. When your animal is suffering and you do not want to use the harsh chemical drops, you will go looking for a natural remedy, and you will be told all manner of things. And some of what you will be told will kill your cat. I mean that flatly. You will hear that you should rub certain plant oils on the cat, the strong scented oils, the tea tree, the peppermint, the eucalyptus, because they are natural and plant-based and therefore surely safe. Do not do it. Those strong oils are poison to a cat. A cat is not built like a dog and not built like you, and its body cannot break those oils down and clear them out. They build up in the animal and can bring on drooling, staggering, shaking, and worse. Natural does not mean safe. I will say that again because it is a lie that hurts a great many good animals. Natural does not mean safe. Poison hemlock grows natural in the ditch, and it will kill you dead. Keep the strong scented oils away from your cat entirely. And one more. For those of you with both a dog and a cat, the flea drops sold for dogs contain a chemical that is made for a dog's body, and to a cat that same chemical is dangerous. Do not ever take a dog's flea medicine and put it on a cat, not even a little, not even the leftover. It sends cats into fits and it kills them. The veterinarians see it every flea season and it breaks their hearts, because it never had to happen. What is safe for the dog can be death to the cat. If you keep both, keep their medicines apart and never cross them over. And I will be plain about the edge of what I am telling you. Everything I have shown you here is for the ordinary case, a healthy cat with a flea trouble. If your animal is scratched down to weeping raw sores, or has gone off its food, or seems sick and low in itself, that is past the flea and into something that wants a proper veterinarian. I am a farmer, not an animal doctor, and there is no shame in taking a suffering animal to one who is trained to heal it. Know the difference, and do not let pride keep a hurting animal from the help it needs. Now who profits from you not knowing the old way? Nobody makes a dime when you fight fleas with a comb and a broom and a drop of soap you already own. But there is a steady dollar to be made selling you a little tube every single month, year on year, for the life of the animal. So the plain free method quietly stops getting handed down, not because anyone buried it, but because there was no money in teaching it, and good money in you not knowing it. The knowledge grows over like a path nobody walks anymore. I am not against the store-bought medicine for everyone. There are folks who cannot do the daily combing, cannot do the daily cleaning, and for them the bought medicine, used carefully and right, may be the sensible choice, and I would not shame a person for it. What troubles me is that the old freeway got so forgotten that most folks do not even know they have a choice. They think the monthly tube is the only thing standing between their animal and misery, when their own 2 hands and a cup of soapy water can do a great deal of that same work for pennies. Here is what I want you to do. If you have a cat scratching itself raw right now, start tonight. Get yourself a fine comb and a cup of water with 1 drop of soap in it. Sit down with your animal of an evening and start combing. Then start on the nest, the cleaning and the hot washing, every day. Come down to the comments and tell me your cat's name and what color it is and whether the old way brought it relief. I read them all, and every one of you who reports back gives heart to the next one whose animal is suffering. Next time I am going to take you from the barn cat to the thing the barn cat is there to fight in the first place, the mouse and the rat, because a cat will only do so much. And there are old, plain ways to keep mice and rats out of your pantry and your grain and your walls without a scrap of poison that could reach a child or a pet. That is a good one, and I will see you for it. Get your comb, get your 1 drop of soap, go after the nest and not just the animal. Keep the strong oils and the dog's medicine far away from your cat, and you will bring that poor scratching creature back to peace, the old plain way. Until then, keep the gate latched, the ground fed, and take care of what is yours.